Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 541. Visitor. Sea King. Upon hearing the name to John Cotman's sequence, the first thing Klein thought of was the complete honorific name of the Lord of Storms. The King of the Skies, the Emperor of the Seas, the Lord of Calamity, the God of Storms. Sequence 3 is Sea King. Sequence 0 contains the elements of Sea Emperor, so it does match well. I wonder what Sequence 0 of the storm pathway is called. Klein looked out the window again and saw that, although the weather was still gloomy, the morning sun was up. The sound of the tide had retreated, and the rain had stopped. He pulled back his thoughts and analyzed the situation from the information that Danitz had revealed. The potion name is Sea King, which means that the corresponding Sequence 3 demigods, saints, have to act as a Sea King. And all acting has one premise, which is that one possesses all the powers needed. As a Sea King, he would definitely be a powerful ruler of the seas that he controls even if there's a distance limitation. He would be able to walk freely on the seabed, cause tsunamis as he wishes, raise the sea level, and control marine life. Fighting in their home ground, they're absolutely capable of suppressing all demigods of the same level. The King of the Five Seas and Queen Mystic are roughly at this level as well. It's just that there are differences in strength because of the different degrees of digestion and their grasp on their powers. But no matter what, as long as they're at sea, Sea Kings are nearly unbeatable. With the abilities displayed by the Sea King, coupled with the oceanic environment, if one hasn't seen the eternal blazing sun, true creator, and other true gods, it's not incomprehensible that people would worship him, believe in him, and pray to him. Many of the deities who received primitive worship might be at this level. They might not even be angels. Yes, do not look directly at God refers to a true deity. Previously, see God Calvetra didn't give me such a feeling, nor did Amon's avatar. Of course, I can't be sure if the actual body of a king of angels has some kind of attribute that also doesn't allow one to look directly at them. One is a sea god who's on the verge of collapse and at most, a Sequence 3, while the other is a Sea King who is in good condition and is able to use sealed artifacts at any time. The outcome is obvious. John Cotman would definitely be able to suppress Calvetra's madness to prevent the sea from drowning Bayam. He would prevent the entire Blue Mountain Island and its many cities from turning into a lost sea ruin. Just wait a few more days. Calvetra's madness will completely dissipate, which will end up resolving the matter. This is the simplest and most effective way to deal with the situation, and it wouldn't bring about any panic at all. Most people here wouldn't even detect anything amiss. However, there are also some problems. Firstly, there shouldn't be any other accidents. It's a mystery what that archaeologist, Letitia, did in Simeem Island. She had single-handedly orchestrated the death of the sea god. Perhaps the forces backing her, either the Moses Ascetic Order or the Element Dawn, might take the opportunity to seek something. This is the greatest dormant danger. Yes, there should also be a high sequence beyonder in the Governor General's office and the military. This is a colony base the kingdom has in the central Sonia Sea. Things won't turn out to be too bad. Then, there are the fanatical believers who will most likely become sacrifices as Calvetra becomes madder and closer to its death. They are like stalks during the harvest, falling down in bunches. However, for the Church of Storms, this isn't too bad of a development. The most pious of the heretics would die with their deity, which would save them the trouble of screening and handling them. If they aren't too pious, they wouldn't be affected too much, and it's possible to reform them. The only drawback is that the Rorstad archipelago would be lacking in manpower for a long period of time. Although such a problem is troublesome, as long as they grit their teeth, things can be resolved. Thus, the Church of Storms, Sea King John Cotman is more likely to sit back and do nothing. Phew, I wonder how many people will die in the native enclaves and slums because of this. Klein's thoughts were suddenly interrupted by a uniform set of footsteps and a roar high in the sky. Instinctively, he looked up and saw airships painted in dark blue, with several cannon muzzles and machine guns sticking out, fly past him as they headed in different directions. On the main street, soldiers in red coats, white pants, and black leather boots were lined up in neat rows. They were carrying rifles and dragging cannons as contingents of them moved past. The tense and solemn atmosphere suddenly spread. This is a colony. Klein inexplicably felt mixed feelings as he sighed to himself. I wonder how long it will take the church to get rid of that sea serpent and find the place where it's hidden. That place is definitely a treasure trove with countless precious items. Danitz, whose main job was a treasure hunter, suddenly spoke, appearing both expectant and full of regret. His attitude had changed extremely quickly. He had already reduced the sea god to a sea serpent, using it as a pronoun. The church won't do anything other than keeping the matter suppressed. They'll see Calvetua perish just from waiting for a few days. Of course, members of the Church of Storms might not have that kind of patience, especially when I've heard that John Cotman's main job is being a high-ranking deacon of the mandated punishers. It's just that with the archipelago isolated overseas, he also works part-time as a cardinal to unify his authority. Perhaps his style of doing things is more like that of a mandated punisher. The place where Calvetua is hiding? That ruin is almost integrated into the spirit world. Finding it wouldn't be so easy. Otherwise, it wouldn't have led such an abject existence until today. At this thought, Klein suddenly had an idea. Finding the ruin where Calvetua is hiding would be very difficult to find from the real world. Since it has already perished, it's not something that can be found in a year or so, unless more accurate information is obtained. But if the search was done from the spirit world? The spirit world would make it even harder to pinpoint its location. But it doesn't completely lack options. Snake of Mercury Will Aucepton had once done so with the help of his folded crane. I still have no idea how to do that exactly, but that's not important. I can ask Mr. Azek. Death's domain controls part of the authority of the spirit world. The underworld, or should I say, hell, was created by Phoenix ancestor Greg Race in the spirit world. A thought flashed through Klein's mind. He took out the ancient and exquisite copper whistle, put it to his mouth, and blew into it. He believed that even if he returned to the bedroom or entered the washroom, the messenger's massive body would be discovered by Danitz, who similarly had a non-trivial spiritual perception, so he didn't avoid him. Danitz was imagining the treasures of sea god Calvetua when he suddenly felt a chill at his neck. He felt something inwardly, and he quickly activated his spirit vision before looking to the side. There, he saw white bones spewing out from the floor and flying upwards, forming a giant skeleton with an illusory head that pierced through the ceiling. The skeleton slightly lowered its head. Its two pitch-black flames at its eyes were visible even through the ceiling. The oppressive feeling brought by its massive body made Danitz jump to the side. His body was half-bent, and he conjured a scarlet flame in the palm of his right hand. What kind of monster is this? Danitz looked at Gehrman Sparrow in surprise, only to see him holding a copper whistle and lifting his head as he looked at the skeletal monster. Klein looked up at the huge messenger as the huge messenger looked down at him. Both parties seemed frozen in place. TSK, I was too anxious. I summoned the messenger before I even wrote the letter. Should I make it stay here or let it return first and let it come back later? I'm Gehrman Sparrow now, yes, Gehrman Sparrow. Klein didn't say anything. He indifferently withdrew his gaze, took his time to find a pen and paper, and he began to write the letter. He gave a general description of the matter regarding sea god Calvetua, but he concealed the fact that he had nearly been possessed and how he had to borrow the gray fog to dissipate the curse. He mixed in information about Calvetua's ruins, where it hid, when describing the dream he just had. Perhaps a solution can be produced using the spirit world, but I lack the corresponding knowledge and hope to receive your guidance. Klein folded the paper and turned to see that the messenger's hand had clenched at some point in time. He pretended not to notice anything and threw the letter up. The messenger paused for a second, then it opened its hand and caught the letter. Its body suddenly disintegrated, and its bones crumbled down, drilling into the floor. What? What was that? Danitz finally uttered a sound. Klein glanced at him and replied calmly. Messenger. Messenger? Danitz was stunned for a moment before understanding what he meant. Such a huge and terrifying monster is actually a messenger used for delivering letters? Indeed, there's a powerful secret organization behind Gehrman Sparrow. If I had such a messenger, everyone on the ship would envy me. It would be really, really cool. Danitz thought of how he would brag and flaunt his messenger when he returned to the ship. Putting away Isaac's copper whistle, Klein got a chair and sat down, prepared to eat breakfast in a while. After a while, he heard knocking at the door. Danitz warily went over, and with the help of the peephole, he noticed that the person at the door was a middle-aged man with a boat-shaped hat. "Eland? How did you find this place?" Danitz asked as he opened the door. The visitor was the captain of the White Agate, just Eland. With wrinkles at the corner of his eyes, Eland looked into the room and chuckled. "When you were checking into this hotel, you used Gehrman Sparrow's name for the registration. It's easy with a look." "That's because this identity is quite proper and innocent. Besides, in the eyes of the Church of Storms, I belong to the military." Klein slowly stood up and said to Eland, "What happened?" Eland pointed outside and said, "I am met with an accident, but it's not a big problem. The military has joined forces with the church, and they're currently conducting a search and arrest operation throughout the city. They're searching for a few powerful beyonders who are archaeologists in name. In order to find the target as soon as possible, the military has used all their resources, but it's still not enough for such a large city. They believe that although you're of unknown origin, you're very friendly to us. They hope you can help with the search and prevent any accidents from happening. The corresponding remuneration will be available after the matter. This is all thanks to you for exaggerating my degree of friendliness. That is to say, after the Church of the Goddess and the Church of Steam and Machinery, I can once again receive money from the military?" For a moment, Klein felt mixed feelings. Seeing that he didn't answer immediately, Eland added, "Although there won't be any major problems, the earlier we find the target, the earlier we can control the corresponding disaster. And perhaps that might save a few more people." Klein fell silent for a moment before gently nodding. "Okay,